Joining me now from New York, Rod Blagojevich. Mr. Blagojevich, thank you for being with us, sir.
Thanks for having me, Rick. Thank you.
All right, first let's talk about Chris Kelly. He was your advisor. He just died over the weekend. Lots of stories floating around out there. What can you tell us?
Well, Chris was a very good friend of mine, and I'm very deep sadness deep inside because he took his life and left behind 3 little girls and a wife. He had done some things wrong, unrelated to me. He was involved in some issues at O'Hare Airport in the Daley administration. He went to court. He acknowledged his wrongdoing. And as a result, he was on the eve of apparently beginning a jail sentence. It appears that there's a pattern emerging, and that is that my accusers were not satisfied with the jail sentence that he had in those cases, and they were putting pressure on him, offering possibly to reduce his sentence, I've been told by lawyers, if he would lie about me. He chose to tell the truth, refused to lie about me, accepted his wrongdoing and his responsibility, and then sadly, he took his life. And
wait a minute, are you saying or intimating that the pressure put on him by Fitzgerald and his gang is what led this man to take his own life?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm simply putting together facts as they've emerged through published reports and things that have been told to me by lawyers. I know, for example, the kind of pressure that prosecutors put in place, and this one in particular. There's a fellow by the name of Tony Resco who did some wrong things, a mutual supporter and former friend of both President Obama's and mine.
Which you say in your book you wish you'd never met him.
Now that I know who he was, I do. He wrote a letter to a federal judge saying that those prosecutors were pressuring him to lie about Barack Obama and about me. He wrote in that letter that he would not do so and that neither one of us were involved in any wrongdoing. But then he was convicted of crimes that I didn't know about or President Obama didn't know about, and as a result was put in a jail sentence, I'm told again by lawyers, for 23 out of 24 hours a day, where they got him to change his story and now to make some false accusations against me. And what is really troubling is this pattern with that prosecutor at that press conference you just alluded to, where he takes snippets of conversations from secretly recorded tape conversations, misleads the public, mutilates the truth when he says he was stopping a crime spree before it happened, when in fact the morning before on those very telephones I directed my chief of staff who my first choice for the Senate was, and it was a routine political deal that was going to create 500,000 jobs, expand health care for thousands of people, and not raise taxes on people. That's correct.
I get it. Look, I read every word of your book last night. I was careful to see. I'll take you to page 175. You say, this prosecutor, I imagine you're talking about Fitzgerald, right?
Yes.
This prosecutor is so concerned about his own standing that he willfully conducts investigations and prosecutions that cause great injustice. The same prosecutor is the one who accused me of trying to sell Barack Obama's seat for personal gain. But that accusation is completely and entirely false. So here we've got Fitzgerald, who our viewers just heard moments ago, saying you were trying to sell his seat. And I hear you here accusing this prosecutor of making all this up. And further, if I move on in this book, by the way, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but you go on to say if anybody was trying to get the seat sold, it was the other side trying to get you to sell it.
Well, the book is truthful. Everything I wrote in the book is truthful. I want to say something to you, Rick, and it's very important.
Yeah.
Someone is lying here. Someone's lying here, and it's either a crime spree selling a Senate seat for financial gain, and that is flat out false, or it's what I just said. The truth is in taped conversations. I believe everyone should hear those tapes. I've advocated that since January. My accuser, who took conversations from those tapes, is the one who went to court, preventing me from telling you what's on them and preventing you, the media, from hearing them.
But it sounds like everybody was coming to you and trying to do it. Listen to this. This is on page 179. Marilyn Matthews speak of. She indicated that if I appointed Valerie Jarrett to a Senate, the Obama people would help me raise money from their network of contributors across the country. Which is interesting. The fact remains, you write, that people approached us about campaign contributions if I appointed them or the person they were supporting. You're turning this whole thing around in this book and saying, look, People were doing deals with me. I wasn't shaking people down. It was more like they were shaking me down. Do you stand by that?
You're absolutely right. I stand by that. I didn't shake anybody down. And in addition to that, everything I wrote in that book is truthful. People approached me or aides of mine and suggested some fundraising opportunities if I considered the candidate they were supporting for the Senate. Now, that conversation was related to me by my chief of staff at the time. I told him I didn't want to follow up. I write in the book that she called my wife and wanted to have lunch with her, and I told my wife.
That's Marilyn. Let me hold you for just a moment, Governor, because we're going to continue. Everyone who's watching and wants to see the continuation of this interview, go over to CNN.com/live. Here's Wolf Blitzer in the Situation Room.